What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of Gross Poker Concept of the Week. Today we are talking about the mental game. There is an old school forum, 2plus2, dating back to 2009, where a bunch of pros at the time in the community, active on the community, talked about a specific concept every week. Now, this stuff has some good information in it, but I believe it's a little outdated. Plus, I also believe that this needs to be taken from a text form into a video form and put on YouTube for everyone's pleasure, enjoyment, and for the love of poker. So that's what I'm going to do. This is episode 1, and the first topic that they were talking about at the time in 2009 was the mental game. Step 1 to having a strong mental game: be disciplined. Now, this doesn't mean in everyday life. Notoriously, poker players are very, very lazy and undisciplined individuals. However, I'm talking about in the game, be disciplined. You got 9 deuce off in the small blind, fold that. You got 9 deuce off in the big blind and it's $1 more, fold that hand. Stay disciplined to your game and play the hands that you know you're supposed to play. Don't throw money away when you're not supposed to. Don't call bets you're not supposed to. Don't bluff into the guy who's never folding to your bets. Just remain disciplined. And this will help you with your mental game a lot. If you can stay focused when you play, if you can worry about just your game and not worry about anything else outside of poker or variance or how bad you're running, you will be just fine. The second thing, and it's honestly the most important part of mental game, is really understanding variance. A lot of people don't understand exactly what variance is. The first thing I want to show you is what a bell curve distribution looks like. This is what dictates luck. It's known as a bell curve. And so here's what the bell curve looks like. It's very simple. You've probably seen this in tons of your math classes through high school and or college. I didn't take math in college, so I didn't see it in college. So the bell curve runs like this. You got a median starting at 0, and you've got plus 3, 4, 5, whatever standard deviations away on the right, which are positive deviations. Then you have your negative deviations on the left. In poker terminology, your negative deviations signify your downswing, and your positive deviations signify your upswings. Now, most of us land somewhere in the middle here, but sometimes you'll have a really bad session, really bad month, sometimes even a terrible year. Please God, I hope not for you guys, and you will land on the bad side of the bell distribution curve, and you are quote-unquote running bad or in your downswing. On the other hand, if you land on the positive side, have some really good sessions or a string of good sessions over the course of a month or a year, shoot, if you win a tournament, you're definitely running above EV and you're on this side of the bell distribution curve. Now, in the longest run, this will balance out. You will not see someone for forever. I mean, in theory, yes, there will be people that will never lose, and then in theory, there are people that will always lose, regardless, and they're known as coolers. But most of the time, we land right here in the middle. The difference when you become a really, really solid player is you can start to mitigate your losses and your risk with variance. And I'm going to show you a couple ways how. So I'm going to do a couple hand examples, but the first thing I want to talk about is this program right here. If you don't play online poker, you might be a little lost, so rewatch this video a couple times, really listen to what I'm saying, and you will get the most out of it. If you have played online or are considering playing online, you might know about this, and if you don't and you want to, definitely pay attention. So this is called Hold'em Manager 2. There's another program just like this called Poker Tracker 4, PT4, which you can also use to track your online hands that you play, and I just happen to use them too. What I want to talk about with you guys is over the past 6 months, I was playing pretty regularly on Twitch, and I generated 140,000 hands played over the course of 5 months. I also happened to generate a profit of $9,054. What's interesting to note here is there's another line, and it's very important to look at, and this is really what variance is. USD EV adjusted. EV stands for expected value, and so my US dollar expected value based off how I was playing and running was about $6,500. So that means there's a $2,500 disparity there. When there's a $2,500 disparity, regardless of up or down, that is known as a swing for sure. I'm right now 25 buy-ins at 100 NL over expected value. In plain sense, I made $2,500 more dollars than I mathematically should have based on my equity when I went all in. You might want to play that back. I'm going to say it again. When I went all in with most of my hands, I should have only generated $6,500 in profit. Still a profit, so I'm playing solid poker. But I won $2,500 more than that, which means I won $2,500 more than my fair share, technically. A great example I can give you is a hand where I won where I might not necessarily should have. And the way we can look at that is something like this. So I won 220, but my EV difference was minus 90. So we're going to take a look at this hand. We're going to note that I won, but I probably should not have won all of it because I wasn't a massive favorite. Let's take a look and see what happened. Under the gun raises 3. This player calls as well. I decide to call with ace-5 of clubs. I think that's okay. It's not terrible. Big blind's pretty deep. These guys are a little deeper, so I think it's fine. Now the big blind happens to squeeze. Under the gun continues, and I decide to continue as well. Again, I think the same rationale applies. I'm going to be very deep with this guy, and if this guy doesn't have aces, I've got 33% equity against his hand, and for $15 more, 45 in there, lo and behold, I have that equity. So I don't think it's a terrible call. And we go ahead and go 4 ways to this flop. Now the flop is definitely very favorable. I don't know what this guy has, but I'm ahead. Guaranteed, hands down. Checks through, this guy bets pot. I'm not going anywhere, we get it all in. And it runs out 10 jack, and he shows ace king. We scoop a massive $400 and 8 pot. However, what does this mean? Does this mean I'm the best in the world? No. Does it mean I won a big pot? Absolutely. Does it mean I should have won the whole pot every time? No. And this is what variance is. Let's take a look where it really mattered, on the flop, where we got all our money in. I'm going to pull up our known hole cards, and we're going to take a look. He right now has 22% equity against my hand. And that is how we get this math over here, that I won 220, but only should have won about 90. His pot share right here is 22% of the entire pot. Seeing as we go all in right here, and the pot total is $408, he will have a fair share of $408, which is 22% for him. So if we take our calculator, we got 408, multiply that by 22, and boom, what do you know? Whoops, 408 times 22. What do you know? We got 89.76, pretty close to what the EV difference is, because that was his fair share of the pot. He's going to spike a king there sometimes. He's also going to have the board run out, so it comes 10-10, maybe jack-jack. He's going to win there 22%. And so this is known as running good. We definitely are getting it in good, so we're not running incredibly good. It's not like we had ace-queen here and spiked the queen on this guy's ace-king, but we held. We held for our 78% of the pot, and that is fantastic. But what we have to remember is that this is variance. We ran really good here, but next time we might lose $90 instead of winning 220. I'll run this simulation all day. I'll get this in every single time, but it doesn't mean I'm going to win that much every time. But then we can also look at a hand like this. We've got pocket jacks. I decided to 3-bet this player. He was very loose and aggressive. Jacks is way ahead of his range. He decides to call. Flop comes 7-7-4. I bet half pot. He goes, I don't care. I'm going all in, baby. And we go, all right, you probably have a flush draw. Flush gets there, and he has a flush draw. That sucks. We're supposed to stack him there a lot. But let's take a look at the math again. We'll show his hole cards, and we'll go to the flop where we got it all in. He is a 44% equity underdog, but still has almost 50% equity to win this pot. This is one of those spots, and this is the next topic I really want to talk about when it comes to mental game, is not just recognizing where you're at in your headspace, but recognizing the math and how it really might affect your overall session, your overall month, in general, your play. And so this is a spot, had I known he had specifically queen jack of diamonds, or if he had king queen of diamonds, these are some closer equity spots where we have to be a little more cautious. It's fine to get it all in here. We're going to be printing 12% over the next million hands we get this in. However, we want to try, as professional poker players, or even someone who's just trying to have some fun with the game and not lose all the time, it's really important to try and avoid these close to coin flip situations. And I'll tell you why. When you start to get into more coin flip situations, this is called high variance play. The best way you can maintain your bankroll and really have a good, solid, disciplined game is to not go all in all the time. Every time you go all in, you're putting everything at risk, and so you're going to have very, very high fluctuations between how much you're winning and how much you're losing. Had this guy not gone all in on the flop, I might have been able to maneuver my way out of this on the turn. However, jacks obviously is just way too strong of a hand. This guy's a gambler. He wants to put his money with a queen high flush draw. By all means, let's do it. But it's not a super, super thrilling spot. Obviously, most players don't play like him, so I'm not going to encounter this exact situation again. However, it's something that we have to keep in mind in general. Player type really matters here, and we can't just be going all in all the time. All right, real quick, one last thing I want to tell you guys before you go. Mental game, if you ever get into a tough situation or you're running bad and you want a quick fix to really help you either boost your focus or help you get away from the losses or the winnings, this is what you can do. The first thing you want to do is stand up and go walk around. When I play live poker, I stand up every 60 minutes, guaranteed on the dot, just to walk around, get some blood flowing, and make sure that I have enough energy and enough focus. This really helps me make sure I'm giving all of myself to the game. It also allows me a moment to check in with myself, make sure I have enough energy to focus on the game in front of me and not worry about anything else. The second thing I highly recommend is having some win-losses and stop-losses. So if you're ever playing in a 1-2 game and you're down $600 or 3 buy-ins, you might want to call it a day. Now, like we talked about before, luck is a bell distribution, and every single hand has a brand new outcome to it, right? You can be very, very lucky one hand and extremely unlucky the next. However, there may come a point where your mental game will start to take a hit and your true win rate will not be fully realized because you're getting in your head, you're feeling uncomfortable, or you're trying to get unstuck from the losses you've just given away. And now this isn't good. This is something that is purely mental game, and it comes down to you as a person. Do you have the emotional capacity or the awareness to separate yourself from the money and remain disciplined with your play, or do you actually need to step up from the table and take a break so that it doesn't become more of an issue than it already is? And so that is on stop loss. But the same token goes for if you're running really well and you're up a bunch of money. You can also have a stop win. A lot of people do not have this. I personally incorporate this into my game because it really helps set limits on things. And whenever you're up somewhere between 3 to 5 buy-ins, that's when I like to stop, as you can continue to run really, really hot that night, but you can also continue to run very, very hot the next session because there's always another hand, and luck is not a continuous spectrum. It's like this. So you really have no say, and you have no idea whether or not you will continue to run good, as it all changes from hand to hand. So that was my 2 cents on mental game. I really hope you appreciated it and got something out of it. I do just want to touch on one last thing, and this really comes down to the swings in poker and handling the swings. If you guys still think that poker is based on luck, or that you're unlucky, or the game is rigged against you, I urge you to take a harder look at variance and really try to understand it. Because if you recognize that the game is not about winning and losing, it's about making the right decisions, you'll be much better off. I think that everyone gets into poker when they first start because it's fun. Maybe some of it get in for the money because they are doing well, they're winning and they're running good. They have a gambling problem, who knows? But in general, we get into this game because it's a lot of fun. And I think if we take it back to that core principle or competency or focus, that poker is really just about having fun, and that the chips are just a way to keep track of who's good in the game and who's losing in the game, and not think of it as money, the game would be much stronger, more fun to play, and we'd all be better off. So, hope this helps. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to do another video on mental game and maybe dive a little deeper into some more specifics, maybe have some more hand examples so it's a little more transparent and you guys can understand better. Let me know in the comments below, or reach out to me on any of my socials. I'd be happy to talk about this. Again, I hope you like this. My name is Alex. This is Gross Poker, and I'll see you next week for the next concept of the week.